Hello folks, I'm here at the launch of the new Mini Countryman today. This one's the Countryman C, which has got a start price of around about 28.5 grand. It's petrol, mild hybrid. Honestly, it gives you all the power you need in this, guys. They do also have the John Cooper Works version here today if you're after something a little livelier. But watch the rest of this review and see why actually this one might tick boxes for quite a lot of you. This one does have the thick end of £11,000 worth of options on it as well. I'm just going to point that out for you right now. Having said that, standard trim is quite generous. So this is a 1.5 petrol engine, as I said, with that hybrid technology. That gives you 168 brake horsepower, 280 newton meters of torque, and a 0 to 62 of 8.3 seconds. I think the design team have done a great job here. Just little touches like the lights. You know, they've made this car much more interesting with some really clever little touches that don't feel naff. Now, exterior design on cars is obviously a very subjective thing, and you don't always expect to fall in love immediately with a mid-size crossover family SUV kind of thing. But I think many have done a great job with this. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. It's when you get to the front cabin that this thing really comes into its own. The design is just awesome. It's just so interesting, so different, yet completely functional. The star of the show, obviously, is this huge OLED circular display. I think it's the first circular OLED we've ever seen in a car. It's incredibly bright and colourful. It's very responsive. I'm even going to say it. The touchscreen controls for the aircon work really well. It doesn't feel like a particular nuisance as it does in many cars. You do still have a physical dial for the volume. You've also got dials and proper buttons on the steering wheel. Again, the steering wheel's a lovely thing, mega chunky, really nicely clad in a nice quality leather. Down here you've got a tiny little drive selector, an experiences button. This is mad. Now, along with a huge amount of design that's gone into the rest of this cabin, they haven't scrimped on sound design. This has been a big feature in this car. And you've got experiences. Rather than modes, we've got experiences. If we go through those, we've got green, we've got vivid. As you can see, each one gives you a sound. The seat adjusts. We'll go into, let's have a look, timeless. You've got an oldie worldy feel there. We go into personal, and the seat in this one is now starting to give me a gentle massage. This is something that we haven't really seen in quite this way in other cars to date, and it's very interesting. You might think, well, it's a bit of a gimmick or something, but it's fun, and that's what Mini should be about. Mini should be about fun. You can even customize the brake lights. You know, we've got a Union Jack thing here at the moment, but you can do all kinds of different things with the brake lights, which are mega funky. They've really thought about every inch of this car and the user experience, and I think that's something a lot of manufacturers miss at the moment. They might do things to make things more interesting or what they feel to be more futuristic, but they forget about the person that actually needs to use it as a car. And this thing's not only super functional, but bags and bags of fun. The infotainment system itself that lives in this wonderful looking screen is actually really good. It's a nice user interface, it's intuitive, the sat-nav's good, you've got a good range of different apps, media options, etc. There's no traditional instrument binnacle here, but we've got a head-up display which is nice and bright and clear. And not only does that give you your current speed, you'll see things like the current speed limit, and it's fairly dynamic, so when you're using the sat-nav, you'll get your sat-nav instructions up there as well. Now, the choice of materials in here is also an absolute triumph in my opinion. You've got this really cool sort of woven fabric. I haven't really come across anything like that in a car before, and just interesting designs, the sort of things I'd never pick in a brochure, but in the flesh look amazing. We've got a sort of rose gold finish on the door handles there. The switch gear's all good. The materials get rather less interesting as we go further down the door card, but I just think as a complete piece of design and user experience, they've really done well with this. Wireless charging pad down here. Again, we've got some of that lovely cloth. Lots of little nooks and cubbies as we look around. A movable armrest. All I can say, Mini, is well done. In the back here, it feels like a real upgrade from the outgoing Countryman. It's nice and roomy and very well appointed. Decent amount of knee room, decent amount of headroom, even though this one's got the panoramic sunroof in, which is obviously going to eat into that headroom a tiny bit. A couple of USB-Cs down there. We've got a seat pocket here. It's all very plush. Material quality is exceptionally good. Nice, big central armrest with a double cup holder. There's not much to dislike in here at all, folks. I have to say, very impressed so far. Now, the boot space on this new Countryman is a wee bit bigger than the outgoing model. In fact, the whole car's a wee bit bigger than the outgoing model. It's got 460 litres of boot space, a decent amount of underfloor storage there for you as well. But this main sort of load area is very easily accessible. You haven't got light sort of encroaching in the space. It's a big square shape. You have got a tiny little load lip, which I personally like, 'cause it stops all the shopping falling out everywhere, and it's easy to fold those back seats down, although you do need to do it from that side rather than this. Now, after seeing such a fantastic interior and interesting looking exterior, you sometimes get into a car with a bit of trepidation. You think, I hope it drives as well as it looks. And the good news is, it really does. Whether you're going through a picturesque village in the Cotswolds, as I am now, or you're out on the twisty stuff, or indeed on dual carriageway, this thing is very, very competent. Now, as I previously said, this is the lower power version of the Mini Countryman. If you want the full fat John Cooper works, you are going to get a little bit more power and certainly a quicker 0 to 62 time. But this thing really delivers the goods. It's incredibly comfortable, but it handles really well. And a lot of that is, I think, just down to how direct the steering feels. You know absolutely where those front wheels are pointing at all times. And in an era where fly-by-wire cars are becoming sometimes more and more vague, it has to be said that this is impressive. There's also a really fine line between a sporty drive and an uncomfortable drive. And this Mini just pulls it off perfectly. It's very comfortable, you know, really comfortable. You only really feel the biggest of bumps. I'm going through quite an uneven road at the moment, and not the best surface, I have to say. And it's gliding over most of it. It's only when you find sort of a moon-sized crater that has any problems at all. But also, when you're in the corners, it doesn't feel boaty. It feels really well planted. I'm incredibly impressed by this. This is the kind of driving experience I'd probably expect in that JCW version. Perhaps a tiny bit firmer in that, but in this one, it's a bit of a surprise. Very nice thing to drive. When you find yourself on a nice clear stretch of twisty road, this delivers smiles like a regular Mini would. It's actually easy to forget you're in a Countryman here. It feels very well planted, really, really well balanced, and you seem to have all the power exactly where you want it, when you want it. I mean, it really does deliver the smiles. Wow. The only slight weakness for me is that it's a tiny bit hesitant when you first pull away. Otherwise, the automatic gearbox in this is fantastic. But there is a tiny, tiny bit of hesitance when you first pull away. And I'm nitpicking, folks, I really am. It's a wonderful thing to drive. It's difficult not to have preconceptions before you drive a car. And I expected this Countryman to be a decent enough family car. I didn't expect to be delighted by it. I didn't expect it to be rivaling, you know, some SUVs for practicality or anything like that, and I certainly didn't expect it to be as much fun as it is. Well, it does rival a lot of SUVs in terms of the practicality. You know, it's got plenty of room. It rivals many a car of a different class in terms of how much fun you have when you're driving it. And it really hits the nail on the head of what the Mini brand is all about, or should be all about. It should be fun, it should be engaging, it should have some quirky features. I love this thing, I really do. Folks, if you're interested in finding the latest lease deals on a Mini Countryman, click the link to Lease Loco in the video description and pinned as a top comment. That will take you straight to all the latest prices on a Mini Countryman at the time you watch this video, and it helps support the channel, as do thumbs up and likes and comments and subscriptions. So please do all that. It really does help, and it really is appreciated. So this has been a great first look at the new Mini Countryman for me, and it's a car that surprised me. You can probably tell by everything else I've said in this review that I've fallen in love with it a little bit, and I really didn't expect to. I'd like to spend a lot more time with this car, and if you are in the market for a car in this segment, I strongly urge you to go and test drive one. It really is a nice thing. Thanks for watching, folks. I'll see you on the next one.